What up is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads? You get to see me at my home, my other office, my main workplace here. We are doing Dynasty Draft Mock Monday. So what we're going to be doing is a Superflex Dynasty Rookie Mock Draft 1 through 12 with landing spots. So this is going to switch things up. So of course, we're going to be doing mock drafts probably all this week. We're going to be doing Superflex 1 QB, different landing spots, just so you guys have an idea and are prepared what could happen at the draft and immediately after the draft, because some of you have a draft immediately after the NFL draft and you want to be prepared for anything. You want to be prepared for bad running back landing spots, great wide receiver landing spots, bad wide receiver landing spots, everything in between. This will help you through here. 101, which is going to be most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, you're going to have Breece Hall, which is this 101's mock draft, in the second round, the 57th overall pick, chosen by Buffalo. Breece Hall is, I think, the safest prospect. He is a running back, which running backs are harder to come for. The demand is higher and the supply is lower. And so when we have a demand higher, supply is lower, you have to draft that stud running back, which I think Breece Hall really is a step above everybody else prospect-wise. I think Breece Hall should be the 101, even in Superflex leagues. We are not going to be talking about a quarterback in the first couple picks here, and I know that might set panic into most people's minds, but this draft is not the draft for quarterbacks. It's the draft for wide receivers, and a couple stud running backs is basically the key, and then a quarterback or two that have high upside but a ton of bust potential. Number 2, Kenneth Walker. It was actually chosen before Breece Hall in this draft, but second round, 55th pick overall, goes to Arizona, which you might say, oh, that's a horrible landing spot, but James Conner is in time, maybe at the end of his prime. He's always injury prone. He's literally injured every single year, James Conner. And so you get Kenneth Walker on a really good offense. I want Kenneth Walker 102 in this draft. 255. Now, the third pick, this is where it got a little bit interesting, because you could arguably say that this is one of the best landing spots for this wide receiver, but Treylon Burks, he's the 4th wide receiver taken off the board, but he's picked 22 overall to Green Bay. Now, they do draft another wide receiver with their other first-round pick, but Green Bay, being the 3rd, I think that's a great spot for Treylon Burks. It keeps him as my wide receiver 1. There's a lot of talk about him being Laquan Treadwell or N'Keal Harry, and I don't see that part of his game. I definitely don't see him being that type of bust. I see him more in the likes of A.J. Brown. I feel like that is his best comparison, and if you can get it at A.J. Brown-like at 103 in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years, that is a great spot for Treylon Burks. Number 4, we're going to go with the first wide receiver taken in the NFL draft, and that is Garrett Wilson. He goes to Atlanta. Marcus Mariota or whatever quarterback will become of that. They didn't draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds. Atlanta didn't in this draft. But Garrett Wilson, 108. So he's the 8th overall pick. They got Kyle Pitts. They got Garrett Wilson now. And so really the frustrations will be at the quarterback position. Does he become Terry McLaurin 2.0, stuck in wide receiver 15 to 20 territory? I could easily see that by Garrett Wilson, so definitely a possibility there. Number 5, we are going to go with Malik Willis. Malik Willis is the first quarterback taken in this draft, and he's been a guy that I've been basically touting since day 1 of the offseason here, and he goes to the 9th overall pick to Seattle. Some are going to have him in the top 3. I just can't see him over Garrett Wilson or Treylon Burks or even Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall. I can't see him over those players. Those players are much safer. Malik Willis has the upside where if you look down 2 years from the road, 2 years down in the future here, you can easily say that Malik Willis is the best pick of this draft. But you could also say that he is completely worthless. And that is the high risk, high reward. If you're a team that likes to gamble with that, Malik Willis is a perfect pick for you. But number 5th, he's 5th overall in this mock draft. And number 6, we're going to go with Drake London. He goes to the Jets, 110, 2nd wide receiver taken off the board. I don't like that particularly spot with him. He is a bigger bodied wide receiver. We don't know fully if Zach Wilson is the answer for the New York Jets. They already have Elijah Moore, which is a stud wide receiver. I love Elijah Moore. And so now Drake London is already in a semi-crowded wide receiver area, and they have Michael Carter coming out of the backfield. I just think Zach Wilson is going to need to take a huge step up, but Drake London has the talent. You got to take him at 106. 107 here, Jameson Williams, again, he's not even necessarily high risk, he's high reward, but you just have to be patient with him. He goes to 113 to Houston. Again, Davis Mills, how well can a wide receiver produce with Davis Mills or said quarterback in the future? We don't know. Jameson Williams, I think, would have jumped Drake London if he was in a better situation. But with Houston, it's an okay situation. He's taken at 107 here. Number 8, we are going to actually take Isaiah Spiller here. He also goes to Houston, but in the 3rd round, 68th overall pick. It's a decent spot for Isaiah Spiller. I will say, and if you needed a running back, he could have easily jumped over like Drake London and Jameson Williams here. But with Houston, 3rd round draft capital, I see the wide receivers being a little bit safer at this point. And I just feel like Isaiah Spiller moving down the board still. And I need to adjust my rankings as well, because I do feel like Isaiah Spiller he has the potential. But I do feel like the draft capital the 3rd round is going to be interesting, and I'm going to be looking for that name to be called off. Is it Isaiah Spiller, or does he not get his name called off? And if he doesn't, that's going to be a huge downgrade for Isaiah Spiller. But he's 8 here, and I've seen him as high as 4.5, and I've seen him as low as like 23. So he is going to be the most fluctuating. He's going to be he's going to be the biggest wild card. The guy that I'm going to be looking for his name in day 2, or does he get pushed to day 3? Number 9, Chris Olave. He also gets drafted by Green Bay, which with Treylon Burks, you might say, oh my goodness, that's a horrible situation. But it's really not. They need 2 wide receivers. The second wide receiver could produce just as much, or if not more than the first wide receiver. In this case, Chris Olave, 128. I would have loved to see them get a Jahan Dotson or a Sky Moore. Like, those are players that I particularly want Green Bay to draft, because I think those are going to be great wide receivers in the early 2nd round. You're going to move a Sky Moore up a couple rounds, or up a couple picks. You're going to move a Jahan Dotson maybe up a couple picks. Like, you're going to move one of these wide receivers up a couple of picks because of that Green Bay draft capital, and Kansas City's going to be the same type of rule. They need 1, probably 2 wide receivers apiece. Number 10, we are going to go with Desmond Reagor, and he goes to Pittsburgh, 2nd round. That's the only reason why I have him below probably Chris Olave and Isaiah Spiller, is because of that 2nd round draft capital. I love his mobility, but Pittsburgh is a really good spot. So you have really good landing spot, draft capital not in the 1st round. We already know what happens when quarterbacks get pushed off the 1st round. It's a big downfall, it's a big decrease, and so that is a big concern but I think Desmond Reagor will be taken early 2nd, late 1st. That's my prediction. So if Pittsburgh wants him, I think they're going to have to move up and not draft him at 52. Things can be crazy, though. Number 11 is going to be Matt Corral, 1st round draft capital, 19th overall, to the Saints. And Saints are still a team that has Jameis Winston, so does Matt Corral just be a decent backup? He is 19th overall, so he's going to get some chances there. I just think that Matt Corral is a decent backup. Gardner Minshew. He's Gardner Minshew. He's going to be a decent backup. He might perform at times, but he's not going to be super fantasy relevant. And if you want the next Gardner Minshew, 111 he has a chance of being better, but that's why he's drafted 11th. And number 12, the final one, Jahan Dotson, goes to Cleveland, 44th overall in the 2nd round. That is going to be the pick. Honestly, I think he goes to Cleveland, and if you can figure out the Deshaun Watson stuff, that is going to be a great place for Jahan Dotson. A great place. Players that we haven't talked about. Christian Watson went to Chicago. I don't really like the Chicago spot. George Pickens goes to Washington, and I really don't like that spot either. They would have been the early 2nd round. You also have Kyron Williams going to Seattle, and you have James Cook going to the Saints early into the 4th rounds for running backs. So they're probably going to be mid-2nd, probably later 2nd round picks. And you have Kenny Pickett going to Detroit at the end of the 1st round. It is what it is. I don't like Kenny Pickett, so he would have been probably, again, 204, 203. He would have been after Watson and Pickens probably in these areas. I know that's a lot of people's 1st or 2nd quarterback taken off the board. Not mine. So, again, that's just my personal opinion, what I think is going to happen. So, this is the first of 5 mock drafts. 5. We're doing 5 of these things, all right? So, subscribe if you want to see us tomorrow. All right, peace out. Take care.